He ran with such joy that he seemed to fly. His eyes shone, his tail wagged like a pendulum of happiness, and each step echoed a certainty. He was beside the person he loved most in the world. This was Thor, a mixed-breed dog with light caramel fur and a sweet gaze, who carried in his heart a rare loyalty, the kind that seems to have been sculpted in another life. Thor was more than a dog. He was a soulmate, a piece of pure love in the form of 4 paws. But not every story begins with smiles. Some are born with invisible cracks. You are about to hear a moving, sad, true story, one that makes us rethink how we treat animals. It's not about happy endings, at least not yet. It's about unconditional loyalty, abandonment, and that kind of silent pain that only those who have lost a true friend can understand. Andre, Thor's owner, was an ordinary man. He worked as a rideshare driver and lived in a simple house on the outskirts of the city. Since rescuing Thor as a puppy on the side of a rain-soaked road, the two had become inseparable. They had an almost sacred routine: breakfast together, short walks before Andre left for work, and that explosion of joy when he returned home at night. Thor always waited at the door, with that bright look in his eyes, as if each return was the best moment of the day. It was more than just coexisting. It was loyal love. It was constant presence. Thor knew exactly the sound of Andre's car, recognized the jingle of the keys, the tone of his voice, and Andre, even on the hardest days, would say, "You're all I have, kid." Over time, the neighbors began to notice that almost magical connection between the two. Thor never ran away, never barked for no reason. He just wanted to be around, sitting next to Andre while he drank coffee, or lying on the kitchen floor, listening to the stories of a tired man who only found peace in the silence of that canine gaze. But something changed. In recent days, Thor had begun to feel it. The walks became shorter. Andre's eyes, once full of tenderness, now seemed burdened with worry. There was a strange silence in the house. An absence that couldn't be explained with words. And that's when that routine full of love, began to slowly unravel, like a ribbon that comes undone without anyone noticing. Thor was still the same, loyal, cheerful, hopeful, but something was different in Andre's heart. And then it all happened. Suddenly, without warning, without saying goodbye. Thor got into the car excitedly, thinking they were going to the park. But their destination wasn't made of grass and games. It was something else. Cold, silent, painful. But Thor didn't know. He simply trusted, as he always had. This is the story of a dog who refused to be left behind, of a friend who couldn't understand the absence, and of a bond that, even broken by a human act, insisted on remaining strong. You will understand why Thor's love overcame even the cruelty of abandonment. But to do so, you need to know what happened next. And that's when things really start to hurt. The car stopped slowly at the edge of a dirt road, surrounded by dry trees and a silence that seemed to announce something wrong. Thor looked out the window, his tongue hanging out, happy. He thought it was just another drive, maybe a new adventure. He jumped out of the car when the door opened, took a quick turn, sniffing the ground. But when he looked back, he saw the door closing. Andre didn't get out. He just watched him for a few seconds, teary-eyed, trembling hands. And then, without saying anything, he accelerated. Thor ran after him, first playfully, then confused, and then desperate. But the car disappeared. At that moment, Thor's world collapsed. He stood there in the middle of the road, hoping it was just a mistake, that Andre would return, that everything would be as before. Day turned to night, and night turned to day, and Thor was there, confused, unable to move, because in his mind there was still hope. How many of us have witnessed scenes like this and moved on? How many have seen an abandoned animal and thought, someone will help? What if that someone is you? What if the change starts now, with your voice, with your gaze? This story isn't just about Thor. It's about thousands of animals that are abandoned every day. It's about changing that reality. Leave your opinion in the comments. Say what you feel. Say that this isn't right. Show that you care. Every comment counts. Every voice matters. If this story touched your heart, please leave a like, not for the numbers, but so that this video reaches more people and opens more eyes. Subscribe to the channel to follow stories that need to be told. Stories that hurt, but that can also transform. We're going to change this reality, together, now. And while Thor waits, we'll continue telling what many try to hide. The wind blew strongly that late afternoon. The trees swayed slowly, as if time had slowed down to match what was about to happen. Dust from the dirt road rose with each step of the car, which moved at a silent and tense pace. Thor, sitting in the back seat, still didn't imagine that this would be his last ride with Andre. His eyes shone with the same joy as always. His backside bumped against the seat upholstery like an innocent metronome, marking the seconds of a heart that trusted without limits. The car stopped abruptly without a hint of kindness next to an old, abandoned market. The place was remote, cold, forgotten. Andre took a deep breath. Thor got out of the car excitedly, sniffing the ground and running around as he always did whenever he thought he was about to play. But when he looked back, all he saw was the door closing, and then the car driving away. Without understanding, he ran. First slowly, thinking it was part of some game. Then faster, more desperately, until the dust covered the car and he could no longer see it. All that remained was the sound of the engine disappearing on the horizon, and the silence. A harsh silence, which pierced like a knife into the heart of that dog who, until then, had only known love and presence. Thor stopped. He stood there in the middle of the road, his chest heaving, his eyes searching for an answer that never came. He didn't move for hours. He just stared in the direction the car had disappeared. An abandoned dog doesn't understand why. He doesn't rationalize. He feels. He suffers. He waits. And Thor waited. On the first night, he lay curled up beside the market gate. It was drizzling, and he shivered, but he didn't move. Every time he heard a car approaching, he would jump up excitedly, wagging his tail, only to be disappointed afterward. Each sound was a hope, each headlight a possible return. But Andre's car never appeared again. Days passed, and Thor was still there. Sometimes I would walk along the sidewalk, take short turns around the market, but I always returned to the same spot, the place where he was left, as if it were a promised meeting point, a silent promise that everything would return to normal. And every day, he waited. Some people started to notice him. Drivers who always passed by the same road would comment amongst themselves, "That puppy is still there." A lady who sold fruit at the market across the avenue started leaving leftover food and water in a small bowl. Thor accepted the food, but never left the spot for very long. It was as if he was afraid to leave and miss the exact moment when Andre would return. Stories like this are not uncommon. Animal abandonment is a harsh, cruel, and silent reality. And Thor, with his lost yet loving gaze, became yet another of those heartbreaking dog stories. A true story that happens more often than it should. The days turned into weeks. The sun beat down during the day, and at night the cold was biting. Even so, Thor remained steadfast, always looking in the same direction, always waiting. That faithful dog didn't understand that he had been left behind. In his mind, his owner was simply late. The scene was so moving that even the local shopkeepers began to care for him from afar. An employee from a nearby gas station improvised a small wooden shelter with an old blanket. Thor accepted the shelter, but never went inside for long. He always seemed alert, ready to run to Andre at any sign, as if a small part of his heart still believed that all this was a test, a lesson, and that soon, very soon, everything would be as it was before. A child passed by him one morning, holding his mother's hand. Seeing the dog, he asked, "Why is he sad, Mom?" And the answer came with a sigh, because he still believes they'll come back for him, son. It's difficult to describe what's more painful, the abandonment itself, or the eternal weight of those left behind. Thor didn't change. He didn't lose the sweetness in his eyes. He didn't rebel. He didn't destroy anything. He simply waited, because his love had no expiration date. And that's what makes stories like this even more profound, the contrast between human cruelty and canine purity. Now, I want to hear from you. If this story touched your heart, leave a comment below. Tell me, I would never abandon a friend, or simply write the name Thor to show that you heard, felt, and care. Each comment shows YouTube that this video needs to reach more people, more hearts, more eyes that may be closed to this cruel reality. Write down what you would do if you saw a dog waiting like that alone in the middle of the road. Would you stop? Would you help? Tell me. And if you believe that stories like this need to be heard, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Here, we give a voice to those who cannot speak and show the truth as it is, raw, sad, but real. And while Thor continues to wait, we continue counting. Time seemed to slow down each day as Thor remained there, steadfast, resilient, but visibly changed. The joy etched in his eyes began to give way to a silent weariness. His once shiny fur lost some of its luster. His ribs began to show. His backside, which once swayed confidently, now swayed slowly, with less vigor. The hopes that gaze held, Andre's return, transformed into an almost mystical faith, that of someone who believes against all odds. But little by little, the city that had ignored the scene began to notice. First, it was the fruit vendor who left a more generous bowl of water, then the gas station attendant who threw an old blanket next to the makeshift doghouse. Even a group of compassionate residents decided to do something. They started taking photos of Thor and posting them on social media with hashtags like dog waiting, don't abandon, John's love that never dies. The hashtag went viral. Some people shared and reposted it. Comments began to appear. What a pity for this dog. Someone needs to help this friend. Where is a home for him? The mobilization grew. Messages of condemnation, of abandonment, appeals for adoption, people offering temporary shelter. With that came small acts of help, but they represented more than just food or blankets. They represented empathy. An animal rescuer from the city, the lady who owns a veterinary clinic, showed up with vaccines and medicine. A young student, moved by the situation, offered to bathe Thor, give him quality food and examine his wounds. For the first time in weeks, Thor received affection from strangers, but he still returned to the road, to that place where the car disappeared. It was as if an invisible voice inside him said, "This is where he will return." And Thor obeyed, because his loyalty knew no reason, only love. There were also offers of adoption. A young man from a neighboring town said he could take care of him, give him love and security. But Thor refused, not literally, but silently. When the young man's car arrived to pick him up, Thor shrank back, looked back as if consulting the wind, as if saying, "Wait a little longer." A deep feeling of hope whispered in his chest. The rescue turned into a promise of return, a promise that only Thor believed. The young man gave up. He left with empty hands, but a heavy heart. And time continued to pass. The nights grew too cold, the days punished under a strong sun. Thor, growing weaker, began to walk slowly, taking longer to get up, losing the sparkle in his eyes. But he still remained there, sitting, looking in the same direction, the direction of the road. With each passing car headlight, with each engine noise, his heart raced, and he ran, stumbling, hopeful. Hope for a return that would not come, for a love that had been torn away, for a life that promised to last forever. One day, the student volunteer found Thor lying there almost without strength, his eyes closed, trembling from cold and weakness. He approached carefully, sighed deeply, and spoke in a choked voice. friend, you don't need to wait any longer." But Thor didn't get up. He just looked with that pained expression and sighed, as if he recognized the man but without believing that this was where he should be. He gave 2 slow licks to the offered hands and laid his head down beside him, motionless. Silence took over, a silence that said a lot: weariness, resignation, sadness, and above all, a monumental loyalty. At that moment, something changed. It wasn't just Thor's body that trembled, it was the hearts of everyone who saw him. The entire community, previously scattered and distracted, united in a murmur of pain and compassion. Comments filled the posts. "Adopt him, please. Don't let this story end like this. May someone rescue that gaze." The rescuer decided to take him to the clinic. The student, in a last attempt, held the dog with utmost care, trying to comfort him. And there, on that cold concrete floor, in the middle of a small room, Thor opened his eyes for the last time. Slowly, without apparent pain, only sadness, and with a hoarse sigh, he raised his paw as if asking for forgiveness, or as if saying thank you. Then he closed his eyes. Forever. It was the end, and at the same time, a blow to the heart of those who witnessed it. The news spread. Thor's story circulated in messages from animal rights groups, conversations, and letters of outrage. Many people wrote, "This cannot happen again. Every abandonment is a life. How many Thors are waiting for days, hoping for an owner who will never return?" Collective grief took over, and along with it, a desire for change. But this story, Thor's sad story, cannot be just about pain, nor about tragedy. It has to be about truth, about loyalty, about responsibility, about respect for those who trust us without asking for anything in return. Thor didn't know what abandonment meant. He didn't understand why he was left behind. He only knew love, routine, trust. And when that disappeared, everything collapsed. He waited, he trusted, he loved. And it was because of that love that he suffered. Now I ask you, how many more need to go through this before we understand that abandoning an animal is a crime of the heart? How many empty stares, how many sad paws and tired bodies will still wait for the return of those who left them? If this story touched you, if you felt pain in your chest, if Thor's loyalty moved your heart, then leave a comment, "I never abandoned a friend," or simply, "Thor lives in us." Tell me what you would do if you saw a dog waiting alone on the road. Would you stop? Would you help? Give your voice to those who cannot speak. And if you believe this injustice needs to end, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Here, we give voice, show the truth, raw, sad, real, and fight for those who have no voice. Together, we can transform pain into action, abandonment into home, suffering into hope.